It's time to get fired up about art. Honestly, among the many reasons I wish to live. Also, I just realized music's probably a little loud because I was listening to some tracks yesterday. Wasn't I that were quiet, so the volume's up. My bad. But anyway, what was I just thinking of? Art. Alright, of the many reasons, I think it'd be a good idea for me to live in the woods. Live in the woods where most of my money would probably go to, like, making sure I have good electricity and internet, rather than, like, building a big fancy house in the woods. Is so that I can, like, scream as loud as I possibly can whenever I feel like it. Because, like, right now, not only do I live with my family, and as such, you know, am discouraged from just screaming randomly in the house. But furthermore, even if I owned my own, even if I was renting an apartment, I probably shouldn't be screaming as loud as I can because of neighbors who share walls with me. And then what's more, you know, even if I have my own house, there is a large chance that people would still be able to hear me screaming, depending on where in that house I'm screaming and how loudly. And at that point, I simply am like, no, this is for goofs and gaffs, and the people meant to hear the screaming are on little devices on their in their homes, so they are capable of mitigating the noise. Like, this is not for real life people's ears, to be so clear. So one day I'll be able to walk out into my own front yard and scream as loud as I can. For now, I'm simply tired and unable to afford a yard, let alone a house to go with it. So what we'll do to make up for that is draw. I like drawing. Got very excited about what was I thinking of? About creative stuff earlier today, and it does that kind of stuff definitely has helped when I'm like, I'm going to focus more on art streams from now on. So lets me carry the energy over. I'm going to be playing Rivals tomorrow. And like, you know, I feel like the big thing is, like, definitely one-offs for, like, large section of games and playing games with friends. Like, those I'll always be doing, but in terms of, like, regularly playing through a game, I'm like, probably not that. Probably just art. Mostly art. I like creating stuff, believe it or not. Yeah. You know, I talk about this a lot on a personal level. I don't know how much I talk about it on stream, but growing up, me and my family would go camping, which I loved, and I've definitely talked about that before in general. But the specific way we would go camping, it wasn't so much glamping as much as what we would have trailers. So, you know, they were like trailer park ass trailers. And those the place we had them at was like in the woods a good amount, which is why, I mean, we called it the campground. We always said we were camping. It just wasn't, you know, good old tent camping. But On top of the fact that I just like nature, that gave me a big love for nature. The other thing that made it great, which is like one reason I miss it so much, and one reason I'd be like so desperate to get this back, is that typically what people would do, not just us, just anyone who stayed at that specific campground, what they would do is they would have a big porch, which was essentially the size of the trailer that you had there at the campground. And and that like porch would typically, you know, it have a roof and it was fully encased in a screen. So like people would like, we had like a TV and everything out there. Like it was essentially just like the living room, except, you know, it didn't have AC, wasn't insulated, so it had lots of fresh air. Actually, the word help, I don't yelp. Also, hi pig. But yeah, so like unironically, like doing that, and I know I said this doesn't count as it didn't count as glamping, but still, doing that was like all the benefits of being outside in the woods. On the cartoon, that makes sense. But yeah, doing that had all the benefit of being outside in the woods with none of the negative side effects like bugs. I think anyone who enjoys that sort of thing might understand when I say like I'd give an arm and a leg. I would literally, if someone said, Cahill, we will set you up in 100-acre wood. That's public domain. 100-acre wood that you own, in the middle of which is your own good trailer and porch with good internet, storage space, and electricity. And you can be there for life. All you have to do is give up your left arm and left leg. In a operation we will also fund. I would say yes. I'd say absolutely. Are you kidding me? I ain't using those shits for nothing. I get a cool, I get cool prosthetics out of it too. Sign me the hell up. And that's not me downplaying, you know, anyone who is currently missing those parts of their body. First off, you definitely didn't get that for free. And second off, it's just me trying to illustrate just how badly I'd want that setup in my life. The camping setup, not the leg setup. Not the arm and not the limb setup. I got a friend, he's got the setup. Prosthetic. I'm talking prosthetics. You need arms and legs for various different just purposes. He can do that. But yeah, so I do wonder, like, because I have a job, right? I know, hard to believe. I have a job. You know, all things considered, it's a good job. Not crazy about jobs in general, but it's pretty all right. And it's not one where I have to do like physical labor. I wonder what they would say if one day I came in, like after a weekend, right? After a weekend, I came in and, you know, had a prosthetic arm, like, no communication beforehand. And no build up on the week before. Simply, I am at my desk job now, currently having substituted two of my limbs. Also, Pig, I will continue to issue better income than you had before without needing job. Or, you know, and without needing legal. Pig, don't you worry. I know a chemistry teacher, and he's got set up with a pretty good gig right now, so I'll get this sorted away in no time. That is the dream, TB. That's what I'm saying. So, also, I won't continue the conversation we were having before, Pig, because I imagine you got lots to do, but I cannot stress my total belief in you, and I will help out in every way I can because not just because of friendship. I'd say because we're friends, but because of human decency. Genuinely, just because everyone else should be doing the same. Man, I'm the first person to praise Sonic CD. Some of these songs take me by surprise by how good they are. That's why I'm already playing this playlist again. Because songs are fucking good. They're a bop. They're a bop, and I'm like a little tired. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. I actively said that at work today. Like, I'm not gonna hide it. Tomorrow promises to have far too much going on in a general sense. And it's Thursday. Which is an issue. Because, like, that means once it's done and I'm even more tired than I am now, I will have to go back for Friday. And, like, even if Friday is real good, in general, it's just like, that's not, I ain't feeling it, man. Nah, I don't really feel like it. Classic SpongeBob bit. I think I need to... This does line up. I just don't... There we go. That's better. I forget if there's a term, like an art term, for when something's like, this works, this is what this would look like IRL. This all lines up, the math is correct. The theoretical art is correct here. And, like, hell, I even have a picture of it right here. But when I put it to paper, it looks wrong. Okay, that's the thing. I mean, hell, like, people take pictures on their phones all the time. They're like, well, that's not right. That doesn't look good. What the hell's going on there? Sometimes life and eyes are just like that. Actually, here's the thing. I went to art college, to my parents' great regret. But fucking... They didn't... I think they did... There was a time they talked about it there. But, like, they'll teach you a lot about perspective. And they might even teach you about breaking perspective. They won't tell you about when it's a good time to break perspective, though. Like that thing I was just talking about, they'll teach you all about perspective, and then they will teach you like, oh yeah, it doesn't really work there, so you'll want to change it. But like, they'll still treat perspective and what have it like it is an absolute that must be followed, so. At least not in my experience. Oh, so this is what's wrong. I do see the issue. I'm going to rectify the issue. Rectify. Boom, bum, 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 bum. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to be playing some Marvel Rivals, which originally I was going to do for the vampire stuff, but here's the thing. My friends have said that's a stupid idea. No. It's just that everyone else I know have played it plenty, and they're like, we're all leveled up, and I was like, alright. And I was like, make it not using perspective. It's hard. I mean, I think it should, to be fair, also, hi Riku. I think, honestly, the distinction just should be like, sometimes this doesn't work, so follow your heart. All they have to do is acknowledge it for me. Because that's what art is. Just follow your heart. Just take your, where your art, go with your art where your heart goes. Unless I'm trying to think. I'll do it this way. Anyway, but yeah, honestly, thank you. I hope you're also having a good day. Chances are tomorrow I'll either just be playing regular rival matches, or we might pop in for the new Avengers. Oh, I'm glad, Riku. Tell them I'm working very hard at it. I'm trying. Ugh. I try. I really try. I mostly try for myself, because you know, I was talking to Pig about income minus job. And ideal world, that would be what the comics are like, but not there yet. So right now, I just work my butt off because I like doing them. Also, what was I thinking of in regards to that? All right, I'm working on my game idea. And honestly, it's coming along really good. I managed to blackmail some people into agreeing to a beta test. So I'll do that at some point in the nearest future. I was gonna have them do like deck construction as part of it, but someone was like, hey, probably a better idea if you make some structure decks that we can play with. I'm like, that's fine by me. So, but yeah, between that and actually working on making a structure deck today, I was like, oh, I'm feeling it. I am feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. So, hopefully that comes along. I would still very much like, you know, the story that the cards are meant to facilitate, like, for that to be good and for people to really like that independently of playing any game. But conversely, if I end up making a really cool card game with art I like to make and mechanics I think are good and everyone else likes, and I can make money that way, I'm not gonna be like, oh damn it, I was supposed to be making a book. I love trying new games. I might hit you up later then, Riku. For right now, I think I have enough people for the initial beta test, but obviously, you know, do 1 or 2 rounds to be like, okay, is this anything? So I appreciate the offer though. Yeah. Some friends did also speak up being like, I'll help, and I'm like, thank you. I already covered before. I think I was already saying this last stream on Monday about like having to test my material out on people makes me want to die. But luckily, the card game I'm designing requires short rounds. So, you know, I yeah, hopefully it won't be too bad. You know, me and beta testers, me and my betas, as I'm starting to call them, I'm like the alpha. I'm sorry, can't no. No one will help me with my game if I start talking like that. Anyway, but you know, hopefully me and the people testing are have a good time with the initial trial, and then what feedback I can get. Even if the feedback is like, this is really good, I just want like this specific card, like that's fine. We're most certainly not going to use every card in the, you know, in the tests. So if someone's only feedback is this should be a card, that works out. Throw it onto the list of the initial concept, and well, more like replace it. Take a car where I'm like, oh, this is nothing. Throw it to the side. If I can make a TCG that is both fun while also cuts down on like scalping and toxic metas, then I will be incredibly happy. I was thinking about that, you know, because like sometimes you have games or other such things which are clearly not as big as their competitors, but obviously, you know, they still do the whole like social media thing, they put on events, yada yada. I feel like for the first time I looked at that and I was like, I mean, granted, plenty of things are corporate, so I imagine not many of them are like this, but like I could see that for the first time through the lens of someone and be like, even if my thing wasn't super big, I'd still be happy if, like, you know, X number of people were into it and following it actively. It doesn't need to be everyone. I don't need the whole dang world at my fingertips. In fact, I'd prefer they stay at least an arm's length away from me. I'm a wildly antisocial person. Yeah. Honestly, I might put what I was just I might tell anyone who's testing the game that what I was just saying later on, because, you know, unironically, I don't even necessarily want the only takeaways to be like, the game is very fun and I like it. So I can literally start off by being like, if you literally have nothing to critique about the game and find it super fun, all I want you to tell me is, you know, what card would make it even more fun for you. Card idea. So. And like eventually I'd love to. Here's the thing. I was gonna say I'd love something like an Exodia or Egyptian god cards, what have you, in the game. But here's the thing. Exodia technically does function like it says in the anime, so like that's fine. The Egyptian god cards have almost never functioned like they do in the anime. So, which is part of why I'm making a game to begin with, you know? Like, especially watching Saturday morning cartoons with stealth. There are plenty of ones where it's like, oh, that's cool. It definitely didn't do that in real life, though. So, not even talking about, like, wholly fictional stuff. Just game functionality. You look it up, and it's like, oh, it didn't, it doesn't, no, that's not it. So. Making stuff closer to that would be, I think, a good use of my time. I've also talked before about just like beyond just like enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh and what have you. Wanting to make a game comes from the fact that like as much as I've enjoyed like collecting monster collecting genre stuff in the past, a lot of times I'm not super happy with how the competitive scene is, like what that entails. So trying to craft my own is a way to amend that for me. But I don't know, that's just me. I was also thinking about, like, you know, what would a video game version of my thing end up looking like? And I was like, would it be cool if you had a game where part of it was basically just like Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my goodness, Zaid, I forgot to do the Twitch alerts again. I'll do that tomorrow, especially since I won't have, you know, I'll be playing Rivals. Hi, Zaid. Zaid, weren't you lethal company tonight? I hope you had a good lethal. Perhaps I would hope to join you on a community night soonish. It's just, oh, that's not. I've made the stream's still okay? Hopefully. Yeah, it's okay. I just messed up my one thing here. But yeah, I'd hope to join you for a community night sometime soonish. It's just a matter of not having to worry about anything once I get home, because even if I had joined you right as I got home today, I would not have been on for long, so. But yeah, welcome on in, Raiders. If you don't know me, I'm Cahill. I do art. Sometimes I play games. I'm doing that less now these days because I want to focus on art. I was just talking about this game I'm making. So it's a card game, not a video James. I apologize to all you video Jamers out there. I am among you. I am among us. I promise you, but I don't know how to code. And also, I was literally just saying how it's like I always have one problem or another with some aspect of like a lot of TCGs. So with that in mind, it gives me rise to make my own. And oh yeah, I was saying how if I did make a video, I was thinking of like what would it look like if I wanted to make a video game out of it, because obviously I think especially in this day and age, video games make it like make anything more accessible if you're able just to pull it up on Steam and download it, right? And I was like, would it be fun if there was a game that was a cross between like Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Sim and Zelda? So like any battles you get into are done through the lens of a card game, but you're also like dungeon crawling and solving puzzles in the real world. Mayhaps using cards as things to solve puzzles with. I think there could be a fun version of that. I also think it could be frustrating. Because it might feel like those two things have nothing to do with each other, so you have to find a good way to marry them, but I believe in my fictional ability to make a video game. This is my delusion. I get to choose what I can do. But yeah. I also like... Also thinking about it, I feel like one reason I was coming up with that idea was because of like the spell slots in Elden Ring, right? In Elden Ring, to get more spell slots, you have to solve little puzzles to find them. And like, in some ways it can be you can see that as very video gamey and do the thing of like, haha, how did no one figure this out in real world if they're so smart? But the other way is like, oh, I get it. In order to effectively use magic in this game, I have to be somewhat actually smart in real life, which I think is cool. So that's why I was thinking about it for the sake of like making a little card battler. Is like, hey, in order to get through this game about being, you know, good at strategy, you have to be good at strategy. You have to be clever. You have to have you have to have slightly big brain in real life. So, and, you know, if they use a walkthrough, then like, I mean, that would just mean they've cheated not only the game but themselves. So. I'm joking. That's a joke. Right. Was it I don't know who said that. I'm not even gonna say ninja, even though I said ninja. I was like, who said that? Who said that dumb thing about Sekiro? I mean, fucking, I'm not gonna... Heck, real world example, I wouldn't blame anyone who uses walkthroughs for the spell slots in Elden Ring, right? It's like, I'm just trying... I just want to try out a fucking spell build. I don't need to spend 3 hours figuring out this riddle. Show me where the turtle is. Sometimes you just want to actually, you know, play the game you bought for $60. Shocking as that may be. Yeah, I want to be like, I cannot wait for tomorrow to be over, but like I said before, part of what's making me dread tomorrow is that Friday is after it. And it's like fucking... I still gotta get through that. What this inherently entails is that once Thursday is over, I must experience Friday. And I don't feel like doing that right now. And I doubt I feel like doing it on Friday. What was I thinking of? You know, on top of all the stuff that's made me like very anti-job in my adult life. I feel like one of them is the amount of like bullshit people will put you through if you don't feel like going into work one day. You know? Because like a job on its most basic level is I need money, you need something done, I will do the thing for money. And while I can understand needing commitment and kind of like heads up on like, you know, how many people are coming in to do their job on any given day, it's like being there every day all the time and getting shit when eventually I'm like, I don't actually want to be doing that. It's like, that's weird. It doesn't feel this doesn't feel transactional anymore. It feels feels gross, actually. And I'm not saying you gotta keep paying me if I'm not coming in. I'm saying understanding I'd like to get some time back while sacrificing money, like, that's fine. It also doesn't help that feeling that like basically every job I've ever worked and every job in the modern day is like understaffed. I don't know about y'all who also have jobs out there. I don't think I've ever worked a job that actually feels like it has enough people working it. And I think that's dumb. Employers rather be on like the verge of crisis at any given moment, constantly barely scraping by in terms of functionality, rather than risk anyone at the job having a moment to sit down. That sucks. So that also doesn't make me be like, yeah, I should go in and help out. No. They've done the people who run that place have done this to themselves. Sucks to be them. I'm staying home and I'm playing Marble Rifles. So. I shan't apologize. So there are so many times whenever I work a little extra, people be like, "Oh, that's good, the money," and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I want to help people. I'm going in an extra day because my direct manager looked like they were ready to cry. I'm going in because they came to me on their hands and knees saying, "You're the last person I can turn to." And even if I was the richest man in the world, I feel like it would be a dick move to be like, no. So that's why I ended up working a lot of holidays in my last job, because I was kind of, they're like, you are literally the only person. I'm like, okay, that sucks, but again, if I was upset, it was more so because it felt like they were understaffed in general, rather than I had to work. I feel like I wouldn't have to work Christmas if we just hired a lot of people and some of them didn't celebrate Christmas. Unironically, like, that is a factor into why I'm so like, yeah, different cultures and letting people from all over hang out in the same space is a good thing. I just think of the ending of Christmas Story. They're like, well, let's go to the one restaurant open on Christmas Day. These guys aren't celebrating anything, so they're still open. Meanwhile, it's like the opposite right now. It's like everyone's celebrating the same day, and also every place is expected to be open during that holiday. It's crazy. I was on the record before talking about how I thought 9 to 5s were just a myth, because I had not had a job that was like, you know, Monday to Friday 9 to 5 sort of shit. And to some degree, I still believe that. Because no place is closed for holidays. And that's like, I actively avoid, to my inconvenience. I know, shocking. I actively will avoid shopping and going places on certain days, not even holidays. Like, I won't get too into it, but like different days, because I'm like, I would not want to be working this day. Thus, I shall not go to a place where people are working this day. Just on principle. I shan't do business. Because I don't want business done at the moment. So, sorry to be so sorry I've been on my soapbox. I know to some degree. Plenty of people, especially because like Zayd and Pig were here. They're my friends. And to a lot of degree, I know my friends agree. They're like, yeah, fuck that. But, I don't know. It's my stream. I think people should hear about how it's like, you know, not everything should be open all the time forever. That kind of jazz. So, unless absolutely necessary. I like Riku, I get you, I feel you, and what you're talking about might not be what I'm about to say, but it is like the exception to the rule I'm talking about here. Like, if there's a thing open on, like, you know, a major holiday people are celebrating and that most of the employees would be at, if there's a thing open, I either expect it to be, like I said, some like a Christmas Story situation where it's a business run by people not celebrating said holiday, or it is doing life-saving, or it is like, granted, the last, you know, last place I worked was the hospital, so obviously they're open holidays, and I'm not gonna, that's why I was like, I'm not upset I'm working that day. I'm upset that it feels like we're never staffed properly. But it's like, if a little store is open that day, I expect it to be because they like have life-saving equipment, something people would desperately need in case of an emergency. What else was I thinking of relating to that? All right, holidays. I've said before plenty of times. My first job was was not a hospital. That was my last job. My first job was a restaurant. It's, you know what day sucks at a restaurant? Mother's Day. You want to know why? You want to know, on top of the reason that getting swamped that day sucks for the typical, you know, for typical purposes, why that also sucks, if that's the case. Stay home and make your mom a meal. Like, I was under the impression we were all on board with this. It's insane I had to find out by getting mobbed on Mother's Day. Stay home and cook for your mom. You're, like... You know... Your parents... Like, not just moms, but just in general, parents... Their whole thing is, you know, they took care of, they provided you food and water and shelter as a baboon, as a child, and even as an adult for a lot of people. Stay home and cook, make something for them. I thought this was the agreed upon normal like cultural, like, this is, you get gifts for people on Christmas, you make your mom food on Mother's Day. That's how I thought it goes. And then I work at a restaurant and I find out that thousands of people in a small area just rather take their mom out to eat for breakfast, not for dinner. Dinner might be one thing, but breakfast. That's crazy, and you're you should be ashamed of yourself. And, you know, I get it to some degree, because, like, you know, maybe to some extent you want like a 5-star meal or whatever, but I would still make your mom pancake. Like, what I'm saying. But my mom, you want to know what my mom asked me for Mother's Day one time? She asked me to fry up potatoes. I've never fried potatoes in my life. I did it, and she said they were really good, that I did a good job. And also, not to get on my high horse even more, if you're struggling that much to cook for your mom on one day of the year, on a day you should have so much it's a Sunday. Like, not only do you have the entire year to get ready for it, you have a free day beforehand to get ready for it. If with all that work you still can't make your mom an okay, like a meal with love, that you need. I'm worried about you. I'm just worried about you. And you know, and I mean, plenty of people just don't celebrate Mother's Day. This is true, but like, should still probably be a day that's open for most people. It's a weekend, and it is ostensibly a holiday. I would argue the people who don't have things to do for Mother's Day should still have the day off. You crazies. Either you should be celebrating Mother's Day with your mom, or you should have the day off, because you know, I know plenty of Mother's Day is tough for some people, so like, maybe don't force them to work. Well, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, Riku. That sounds like a lot of work for a 4-year-old. But you want to know something? I believe in their ability. I believe in their ability, and you know what? From what you just said, sounds like they're up to the challenge sometimes. So, if Riku's 4-year-old can do it, then... Several parent-related holidays today, and I am 5. You know, I'm glad. So yeah. Again, dinner might be one thing, right? Like, because I can get it. Like that, it's a way to cap off the day. you, like, maybe you and your mom have both had activities planned the entire day. Rather than sit home in the kitchen, you want to go out for dinner. Okay, maybe we can negotiate that. I'm not a monster. I worked breakfast. And far too many people in the 2 Mother's Days I worked there, which was enough, let me tell you, went out for breakfast. Shame upon you. Shame upon you going out for breakfast that day. Make pancakes at home. So, yeah. All this to say is that plenty of days I'm like, I am not going to do anything today. Not just because I like to stay at home, but also because it would, if I go out, that inherently forces someone to be at work, and I do not want anyone to be at work today. So, country girls make do. Oh my lord, is there a way to disable the YouTube "Are you still watching"? Maybe, I don't know. Don't say YouTube Premium. I'm not getting that shit. Listen, kind of similar to what we were talking about, in just that, you know, I like to support people. I like to make sure folks are taken care of, yada yada yada, that kind of stuff. I accommodate folks. I actively had someone who makes money off of YouTube tell me, like, in fact, I've heard, like, this was a bit more direct, but I've heard this a few times before, that, like, the YouTube Premium is the way people who make money on YouTube make money on YouTube. It gives them exponentially more than ad revenue. I heard that. I went to go look at the subscription. It was $20 a month. And I said, no thank you. I use YouTube a lot. I want to support the people I watch on YouTube. I will be damned if I'm subscribing to something for $20 a month, and if that money goes directly to Google of all things. Holy shit. Because, like, yes, a lot of it will go to the people I'm watching. Another big chunk of it will definitely go to Google. And fuck that. So... please link me your Ko-fi. I will use it. That's literally why Shonen Jump isn't necessarily the most ethical place either, but, you know, ethical consumption under capitalism. But at least in America, the subscription price for the manga app for Shonen Jump it's like $3. $3 gets you all of Dragon Ball in one piece to read whenever the hell you feel like. And I mean, fucking, I don't know if Pig is still here. He just talked about mom pancakes. Fucking Pig's been raving about Black Clover. It has Black Clover. Like, don't get me wrong. On top of, like, obviously plenty of shonen series are like, they're not the most artsy, like, high quality, what have you. Just kind of because of the genre they're in, and also under the duress they're made, the duress they're made under. But fucking, there's enough really, really good series from Jump, and they're long enough that $3 is an insanely good price for that amount. So That's why I recommend it, because it's like that's good ass entertainment for relatively cheap. So, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like, have you heard about the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV, which comes with a free trial that allows you to play up to level 80 and has no restriction on playtime? Because I have. It's somewhat of a shame I cannot play. I barely have time for like solo player games. Definitely not MMORPGs. I am actively taking, like, me streaming art primarily at this point is me physically taking a like a knife and violently carving out a chunk of time to play video games for myself. I think it will be bad entertainment for us all to sit here as I play Dragon Quest V for the first time. But I can do that for myself. and if my artwork is otherwise done, and I don't have to worry about stream things for a minute, then it's all good. So the fact that I have to work like one night a week now, like, made me like really think that over. So, and I like how streams are now. I don't know about you guys. The few streams I've done in this, I forget last time I did 3 art streams in a row, but I like the streams in this format so far. So, sorry, Mom and Dad. I know this isn't what you wanted for me, both in streaming and in that's not true. They like when I do art streams. So, now I'm just lying. Lord. You know, I'm not always, I'm not, I will I feel like my guilty pleasure is watching Moist Critical videos. I don't know if we're always on the same page sometimes, but I like it when he talks about funny, dumb things that happen. He says funny words about it. And topically, one thing he's talked a good amount about is Mind's Eye, a very bad game from an ex-Rockstar dev. And I remember one of the videos, he was like, now some people are saying Mind's Eye is good, and those people are liars, and liars go to hell. That made me laugh. I like funny words, Magic Man. So. Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, in terms of online community shit and like his peers, most people think Charlie is a chill dude, so I just, you know, a lot of his content, well, I say a lot of it, it's the ones I watch. He does a lot of stuff where he does, like, you know, like he has an esports team and yada yada, but yeah. I'm doing all this, like, beating around the bush and stuff. Especially in regards to calling him, like, his videos, like, a guilty pleasure of mine. Lord knows if he was like, hey, do you want to do, like, a video or something? Do you want to do a stream or something? I'm like, fuck yeah. So. And I can say that because it's not happening. I think the best circumstance to talk about like theoretical collabs is when they definitely aren't happening, and you know that. So, because then it's not about you like possibly planning something in the future. It's a funny joke. I don't know what my... Another thing that would never happen, but would be funny, Markiplier. I don't know what it would look like if I was, for whatever reason, in a stream with Markiplier. But he's the funny YouTube man. So... Like I said, sometimes it's just funny to think about things. Not cause they're in the realm of possibility, but because they're not. So. I forget. I think I talked about it on stream. Reina Veras Jr. I've literally never watched any of his stuff. I've only seen him in collabs. I could see myself, for some reason, ending up playing a game with Ray Narvaez Jr. Not because I know him or I'm a fan or because I think we are in any way remote, is that like at all connected, but just because he's in so many. I've seen him collab with so many VTubers. It's like, well, it seems like everyone gets to, so. And again, I think that's funny. If everyone gets a turn, I want a turn. No, I didn't watch Achievement Hunter. That's fine, though. Lord. I feel like all in all, I've talked about this before. I feel like all in all, I've had like a decent hit rate in terms of like people have enjoyed watching online and them not getting into awful controversy. But I still like to be careful about that because Lord knows that after a certain point, there was like a tipping point, you know, and I don't like, someone could probably map it. I'm not going to, I don't care enough. But like where some of the first big YouTubers started getting exposed as like awful people. And then it was just like, well, that opened the floodgates and now it just kind of comes with the territory. It's wild how much scrutiny an online job can come with. Not to say unwarranted, because like I said, some of them are real bad, but of jobs you would expect to be held to that level. You know, I say that some bad people have like big viewer bases, so maybe it's not so ironclad. This is like metal. I don't listen. Was I talking about the Thousand Sunny on stream yesterday? I think I was. But yeah, one of the good things about my comic is while it is meant to be somewhat realistic and... Okay, the seafaring is supposed to be somewhat realistic. It is very cartoony. But anyway, it's not really meant to be a certain time period. So, there are some of the sailing ships, it's like, well, that's actually from like a later period. I'm like, I don't... Okay, sure, yeah. It works though, right? It works is the thing? Good. It works and that's how that really happened? It's fine by me. Hold on. Yeah. You know, I talked about it before, but like, I do think, as much as I love the sea and would love to go sailing, I think it'd be hard for me to adjust to the life of a sailor in many of the situations that can like be the case, because obviously you have plenty of different types of sailors, but you know, because I'm a very easygoing guy, and that can be a very high maintenance, high demand kind of job where you're never really chilling for a bit, even if it's your own personal kind of voyage. Just the sea is a cruel mistress, so can still end up being very high tension, never really able to relax. So, and that being said, like, I've been on cruises and stuff before, but in terms of like cruises are almost like, a lot of them are a lot like just like theme parks at sea. So like, in terms of more like being out at sea for the sake of being out at sea, on like a cargo ship or something, I still wouldn't want to just be like a passenger, just like someone who's aboard the ship not helping for many reasons. But yeah, you know, ironically, I feel like those Arctic kinds of voyages would fit me a bit more. Because, like, yeah, occasionally you have times where you're working on the ship for a long period of time. I'm not talking about like crabbing, because crabbing can be like very much like go all the but I was just passing through Arctic places, yada yada yada. Ships that frequent the Arctic seas, that kind of stuff. I could see, because, you know, one, it's not like the Arctic's very busy with stuff. Imagine lots of times where you're just at sea, not much to do. And then two, it's also one of those things where I think a lot of people would be frightened away from that sort of voyage, but I'm more than down. So, let me see something real quick. I don't know. I would love to hear from anyone who's sailed the Arctic oceans and about, oh my, MJ. Yeah, I'd love to hear about anyone who sailed in the Arctic and be like, whether they found it somewhat relaxing or more high stress than anything else. Let me give you a shout out, MJ. Thank you for the raid. What were you up to? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Epic Mickey, you know I love that game. Yeah, you know, I was literally just saying about how, like, not as many, like, regular playthroughs and stuff. Amongst friend games and one-off streams, definitely gotta do a few Epic Mickey streams. Throw that in there. At that point. That's fair. I mean, same, you know? So, is courtesy. Is a little tip of the hat So, there too many bots. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah, that's why you got. That's definitely where something like Moobot or what happened or what have you helps. Just to some kind of auto. You'd hope. Well, you might already have that. You'd hope automod and stuff catches that shit, but maybe it wasn't. I'm still sorry to hear about that. It's gross. I'm the only bot allowed. Understandable. Understandable and based. What was I thinking of? Whenever I'm alright, you know, working on comics, dreading more work this week, but you know, tis what tis. What was I thinking of? Whenever I say based, it's like this weird nebulous zone. It's like, oh, this should have been on repeat. Anyway. It's like halfway between ironic and unironic. It's I wouldn't normally say it, but sometimes it's an applicable word and it's a funny word. So it's the word I say. Stop being ironic? No, because I would say the first time I said it, it was in that tone. It might also just be because Stealth says it a lot, and Stealth's a good friend of mine. So it somewhat leaked into my vocabulary. Like, I was doing it somewhat to imitate him, and then I just started saying it in general. But I end up saying, like, based invalid a lot because I just want to drive home the extent to which I agree with someone sometimes. Like, the only response well, okay, I was gonna say the only response I can have to their statement is that it's correct, but that's not the end of it, right? It's not like I'm disengaged with the conversation. It is that I very wholeheartedly agree with what someone said and need a way to, you know, express that succinctly. So listen, I got autism. Sometimes my brain is entirely caught up in breaking down means of communication. Lord, I need to find a group of people. I'm shocked I'm serious that I have autism. Autism is a very broad thing. Honestly, I think a lot of neurodivergency, especially in the modern era, isn't quote unquote like fake, but rather is just like they're broad umbrellas applied. So sometimes the terms, like the same term is used for two different situations because they're like, we're pretty sure that's the same thing, but you know, brains are weird. Anyway, but yeah, no, I just, what's the thing, you know, I really should, plenty of people have autism or on the autism spectrum. I need to find like a server I'm in that have plenty that match that description and be like, okay, how many times do you just break down like what things mean on a literal sense? I just thinking, I think it's also because like whenever I've heard people talk about like what it's like to well, not theoretically what it would be like if we had to communicate with aliens and yada yada yada. I can have a hard time communicating with people, and there are entire sciences and studies that break down communication to its like just bare necessities, Jungle Book, for the purposes of making sure a message comes across. It's like those nuclear warning concepts. You know, they got those concepts for like, we need a version of like, don't go in here very bad, that is so clear and so universal that even if humans stop existing, it still applies. Model trains in our... Oh, well, 100%. Fucking... You know, like... Look at the art I'm drawing, look at the cartoon playing. I like a good amount of Golden Age Disney. Walt Disney had autism. I'm enamored by the way shoes are shaped. I fucked these up so bad. I've been drawing... Let me see. Not these ones. But what I'm saying is, like... No. Yeah, you can see it. Got those shoes there. Let's see, anywhere else? No, that's a skull. Yep, you see them there. These are more like the shoes from Kids Next Doors. Yeah. These are more in line with how Kids Next Door like drew their shoes. But the way Mickey Mouse and friends would have their shoes drawn were far more, it was literally just like this. Just that, like basically just a sock. And I have made like, this is a structure. The way I draw my shoes, like they are hardied and structured, and they are definitely not squishy and freeform, which to some extent is like good, because they're kind of meant to be like a solid base to otherwise squishy characters. I'm gonna do something which would probably be ill-advised otherwise. I've never drawn Walt and Willie barefoot. I'd have to imagine. So that's Walt's right foot. So outside of the shoe, very rough sketch. Walt's right foot probably looks like Walt Disney. I did give him that name because I needed a W name, and I was like, why not? No, you know. That guy's plenty problematic. Big top. And then... Yeah. Yep, that's what it is. That's how you draw their feet. Which I'm only doing because I think, you know, internet's weird about feet. Everyone knows this. But I think it's completely valid to look at this shoe structure I've drawn and be like, what the hell is in there? Yeah. So the toes would be tucked a bit more behind it. But completely valid to be like, oh my lord, what monstrosity of a foot would possibly necessitate such a shoe? In the parking lot. Yeah. I both have, as I've aged, of course, come to terms with the fact that Walt Disney, probably not the best person, but also kind of sad because there's this one thing from, I forget his name. Is it Adam Conover? I think it's Adam Conover. It's a new little animated thing he's doing called Umber Actually. Adam Conover. Yeah, that's him. But yeah, I was a little bummed because the first episode they did for that was Walt Disney. And I was like, I get it, and that's important. Also kind of makes me bummed, but the first one is like, this guy I looked up to in my childhood and stuff. But now he is pretty shit. But you know. That's life for you. I've definitely, in general, even more modern day than like just years past, I've just been like, you know what? People really, 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 really gotta stop putting like quote unquote like I don't even want to say famous people. I don't think people should be famous. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are a little tired of The Rock right now because he's just kind of not in a lot of great movies. And also, he has that dumb thing in his contract where apparently he can never lose a fight. Like, yeah. That shouldn't be a thing. And then you have, like, E-Network and stuff, where their entire business model is like, we're gonna talk about these people for some reason. For basically 24/7. It's like, holy shit. Like, I see, like, just other stuff happening. Like, anything happening in real life. And then I turn on the network that is, like, purely talking about famous people and what famous people are up to, and I was like, this is weird and I don't like it. So that goes as much for like people, like actors in movies and stuff, as it does for, you know, YouTubers and what have you. Honestly, maybe it was different because like I like I've been saying a lot as we've been talking about this. Look at I like old cartoons, yada yada yada. I'm like, you know, maybe that was a little different before like the internet and stuff and like 24-hour television networks, where like, you know, keeping up with like celebrities and actors and gossip was like, oh, they were at a red carpet recently, and that was like the one thing that happened that week. And that's it. But now it's like, holy shit. It's very disconnected from reality. And I'm sure lots of other people realize this. I'm just talking through my own. I'm not even preaching this as like a lesson. As like a thing you should take away. More so just, you know, and I realized this a little while ago, and once you see it, it's very hard to unsee, I'd argue. So I forget, there was something I talked to Stealth about like, I'm sorry about this, because it was something he liked, and I compared it to another thing, and I was like, oh, you know what it was? What should I take away, Pirate Bunny Man? Money from the 1%. But besides that, I remember what it was. Me and Stealth were watching Digimon Tamers, and Stealth's a big Digimon fan. And I apologized to him, because towards the end of the series, there's like a data virus thing happening that's infecting the real world, and it manifests as goop. And I apologize to Stealth because I was like, once I say this, no one can ever unsee this. That stuff, it's like the exact texture from Mario Sunshine. It is the same exact goop texture from Mario Sunshine. So and you know, Stealth was like, why is that a bad thing? And I was like, it's not inherently, but it's the sort of thing where it's like, once you take a lid off a can of worms, you can't put it back on. That sort of stuff where it's like, once I say this, it can never be unsaid. You shan't experience this again, not having known that. Bum, bum. Man, you know, once we're done with Digimon, I'm kind of sad there's not more strictly like creature collection shows. But like, I don't think me or Stealth really want to watch Bakugan for several reasons. Pokemon's like Pokemon, and that's fine, but I don't think it'll scratch the same itch, because it's definitely more lighthearted a lot of the time than what we've been watching. And then, I don't know. I think anything else we would on the table is definitely way more, like, we're getting very niche and granular. And I don't like doing that, you know? I don't like scraping to find stuff. I'd rather be like, okay, we gotta move on. Oh well. Happens. Alright. We got plenty of time left in stream. But just with what I have to add to Walt in this scene, I might still be. I was like, I don't have to work on this on Friday because I'm doing so well on stream. Not the case. But that's also why That's also why I'm like, yeah, let's primarily do art streams from now on. Because guess what? When this comic's done, it's gonna look real good. I was going through my comics recently because I've been thinking about like redrawing some of them for the purposes of like a definitive edition kind of shit. But here's the thing. I was looking through them. Most of the ones I was thinking about redrawing, not that bad. There's like maybe one or two, like, I was thinking like 5 or 6. There's maybe 1 or 2 where I'd be like, that has to get redrawn. I'm not happy with that. That has to be done over. So, I have done better than I gave myself credit for. And following that revelation, I was like, I think my energy would legitimately be better spent simply working to make the comics of the future even better. I don't know who here has read my comic, but if you do, please let me know what you think about the previous story arcs. Because, like, I do think the Sun Wukong arc, I don't know what I would call just the Wukong arc, I guess. I think that was pretty good in terms of like this is really the first super big story arc. The first one was like very bare bones and quick, but that was also kind of the point to get the comic on its feet. So thinking of it that way, thinking of these two together as just a like this is how the this is to start off the comic. I think they're not bad so far, but like I said, would love to hear from third parties who have read it. The Monkey Goku, he was the villain of my last comic arc. If you don't know that, you know that now. So, congratulations. I redesigned him for piratical reasons. To make him piratical. It looks like the Wallop brothers are having a real piratical time. Make sure to join us at 7/8 EST for the Wallop brothers right here on Toon Disney. Whoa! Looks like things are shaking up on the 7 Seas. We'll be right back with the Wallop brothers here on Toon Disney. My wife left me on Toon Disney. I will say that. So on top of getting excited for the on like testing out the card game and thinking like, you know, maybe I have something good here. Another thing that has me excited about making a card game is the prospect of like when it comes time to release and advertise it, I can try like creating like early 2000s TCG commercials Which no matter what TCG you're talking about, they always had very similar things going on. Like it was very dark in terms of like the color palette. Shit was glowing. Usually like a kid would go find like a real monster somewhere, which was bad CGI. And then it would show like the pack and tell you to get it at Target. And honestly, I'm down for that. I'm 100% down for that. Are you fucking kidding me? Lord. Also, this is that I cannot deny, as much as I would profess to the qualities of my camping setup from my childhood in a vacuum, right, by itself, there is no doubt that, like, it was my childhood. It's nostalgic. I don't want to be like things were better back then. Things were better back then. Not inherently because, like, the world was, like, cooler. The world was a little cooler. Not because, like, the world was all that better. But I was a kid, you know? I was chill. But, like, I was, like, looking up Bionicle commercials because that would be, like, the shit that would be on the TV. I'd be watching out on the porch in the woods. So fucking, like, good times. Very nostalgic for that. I also think, like, you know, I was saying before, I like CRTs. They're big and chunky. I don't want a smart TV. And while part of that is definitely nostalgia, I also like, you know, if I were to be living out in the woods, just, you know, by myself, doing whatever, working on art, playing games, I don't necessarily want all the things I have with me to be, like, super high tech for no reason. I'd be very happy if it's like, okay, gonna go watch some shows and it's just like on a functioning old chunky CRT. Like, yeah, it's a little fuzzy and it's staticky and what have you. That's part of the charm. People who need, like, everything to be perfect and as high quality all the time, like, that's just... Honestly, it's a little sad. I'm not going to lie. Like, brother. You need this? You're gonna be that devastated if it isn't, like... if it isn't, like, $1 million? Crazy. Like, again, I feel like I've really been on my soapbox this stream. It's my stream. But, I don't know. You know, it's like... To me... How far... Making the card game. I have 150 initial card concepts trom, and going into like just initial testing with people. So we're getting somewhere with it. That is for damn sure. Yeah, I was just gonna say, not to be on my soapbox, on top of all the other problems with rich people, to me, part of it is like, I can't imagine being happy like that, in part because you don't enjoy little things. Like, it seems almost impossible to, right? If you're constantly buying new expensive shit, how could it be that you're also enjoying, like, the little things in life. Because, you know, I feel like those things only really happen and apply if you aren't, like, you don't necessarily have to be poor, but if you're always buying and replacing stuff and making it perfect, then stuff is lost. What was I thinking of? Yeah, like I said, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for where the comic's going. Like I said, reviewing it earlier, I was like, this is not as bad as I kind of feared as I'm looking at it, trying to be critical right now. And in the future, I think it's gonna be even neater. And I think at least the people I've shown the card game to, you know, they seem to be like, hey, this seems real cool. Does anyone, I could just ask Juice this, but does anyone here play the Pokemon TCG? Because, like, how long does a TCG Pokemon game take? Because, like, I know Magic games can take a long time. Yu-Gi-Oh games can take, like, I mean, if you're really just... if you really got some strats in there, they can be like an hour. I do kind of feel like the fact that a round of my game, well, one round of my game, a benefit to it is that it will 15 minutes, like, not very long. So I think that's a good selling point. It's like, hey, look, it's a cool TCG, and if you're worried about playing games for hours on end, you don't have to. Like, you could. You could play enough rounds to make that happen, but one game won't necessitate that kind of time. I hope that people see that as a good thing. I don't know how many people are looking to get into a new tabletop game and being like, and also I want to be spending hours doing this, even if I'm actively participating in the quickest version. But that's preference. I know that for a fact. Like I said, I don't know how many people are looking for that kind of thing, but I imagine those kinds of people are already. If someone wants a game that goes on for a long time, they're probably like already playing like Magic or what have you. So. Hoop, 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 hoop. Oh, goodness. Listen, I was looking at my phone a little bit. I'm not going to be ashamed. I need to take my eyes away for... unironically, it definitely doesn't help to stare at a picture you're making non-stop for a very long time. If anything, it probably makes you like, you know, I don't want to say desensitizes you, but like you're the one making the picture. You know what's going on. Staring at it for a long time, you're just like looking at all the lines and yada yada, that kind of stuff. Taking your eyes off it a while and being like, I'm gonna go do something else, lets you come back a little later and be like, oh, I can now look at this as though I was someone who didn't make the picture. A little bit. Never really fully goes away, but... Also, another reason. I literally, on top of like a soapbox, a lot of this has just been me saying I want to live in the woods. I feel like for every person who ever points out that that like people or me specifically that like they're on the phone a lot, I'm just like, well, I need something to keep me awake. Because otherwise I'm standing around not doing a whole lot out in the world. If I'm like at home, I got art, I got games, but like if I went out for dinner with family and we're waiting and like everyone's off doing their own thing as we wait for a table, I'm like, okay, I'll go on my phone. And if I just live in a cabin in the woods, probably won't be on my phone as much. Probably will have things to do. I might read a book. I know. Could you imagine reading a book? Physically impossible. We're chopping somewhat. I mean, I'm down. I went to some good marshmallow roast while I was camping. That's for sure. So I'm down to go out get some firewood. Keep me in shape. Make me look like good old Captain America. Rip a log in half. What's a book? A book is good, actually. Lots of books are very good. It's just that, in general, when you're out and about and having to do stuff, it's considerably easier to have 5 minutes to scroll on your phone than sit down for like an hour and read a book. If you know, are going through life and things need your attention, you'll probably find it easier to look on your phone for a bit. Even just like reading on your phone is easier than reading a book, you know? You can fall down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, which ostensibly is the length of some books, far easier while you do other stuff than it is to read a book, because books inherently, on top of like, you know, if you're trying to read a physical book, but like a lot of them, you know, they want you to pay attention. They want you to retain information for a while, and if you're just like looking at it bit by bit over the course of several hours, you might not retain information as well. I definitely don't. As compared to when, like, in middle school and stuff, I was able to sit down for hours on end and just read a book. So. But I've been on that. I'm not trying to get on my high horse more, you know? It is, you know, I thought this is related to, you know, what I was talking about, but I said before how one time when I was working in the hospital at one point, I saw a, you know, a GMA story about like kids getting into retro tech, and I'm like, that definitely doesn't get into the root issue as to why younger folks are so into buying older tech right now. Same thing with anyone who's like, no one reads anymore. It's like, you don't care to talk about the root issue though, do you? Like, don't get me wrong, plenty of people don't like to read in general, even if, like, you know, they have all the time in the world to and are incentivized to, but still. Not giving people the chance to definitely doesn't help. I went silent because I thought I heard someone yelling. So, honestly, I might just call it here real quick. Fill in this mouth. Just in case something, I don't know, does require. This is what I literally, like, things require attention. Then maybe something, I don't know. Regardless, I do have to get ready for work tomorrow. As much as I was groaning about it, I gotta make sure I have like a lunch prepared and stuff, so gotta do that too. And I'm a little eepy, so we did pretty good work. Normally I'd have more detail on Walt before I called it a day, but here's the thing. I'm gonna give him like the Eye of Agamotto here, a crown, whole bunch of stuff just around him. Not to spoil it, the joke of this comic is that he was trying to fish up something so that they have more to eat than just singular peaches. And instead of getting food this time, he has gotten treasure when it is explicitly a time when they do not need treasure. Just had a chest of gold in the last comic. This is unnecessary. Oh my lord. Okay, that might have not been... I don't know if that was the YouTube timeout thing. Stop doing that, YouTube. I like listening to music. And I'm not playing for premium. Don't ask about that. But yeah. So... Ooh. You know what? What if I was so brazen? What if I was so bold as to raid one Kyryu crocodile, you know? Dare we? Dare we attempt such a thing? I think we dare. But yeah. Did X out of that. Anyway. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, and I'll probably, you know, definitely be attempting, if not just actively, going for a bit long, because, you know, I like definitely still trying to do longer streams, but tomorrow should be better for that, because we shall be doing a Marvel with friends. So this is working. Raid at I don't know if that's working. I would love it if technology worked. Let's see. If I pull it up on here. Okay. Slash raid. And we will make sure I got the right name. Caillou Crocodile. Oh, do not allow me to raid. Okay. Well, in that case... Can I do... Because I'm not, like, not a lot of people I follow are live right now. What about Chibi Doki? I don't think I've ever raided Chibi Doki before. And she is a funny... She's a... Okay, that worked. I wish I had been more clear from the outset that they were... you know... Croc had raid settings off. That would help. But that's not on them, that's on Twitch. But thank you guys for coming on by. I hope to see you tomorrow for Meebo. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.